going
All
on?
right. How's it going, man?
Hey, it's going, man. It's going. Yeah.
It looked like we made it back to another episode.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Man, so we definitely have a lot to dig into.
We definitely do. But before we get into it, man, let's go ahead and do some. We got any shout outs? We want to shout out anybody? What's going on? What's going on with the family?
Man, let's see. Well, first, let's shout out nephew, man.
Okay.
Sammy. I don't
All
know
right.
if Joanne, well, we'll share it because that's what we do.
Yeah.
Sammy, is starting his senior year at UNC Chapel Hill.
Yep.
He just finished an internship with JP Morgan Chase in Chicago,
Yep.
and he left Chicago with a job offer when he graduates from Chapel Hill this May.
Yep.
Ain't gonna put his business out there. Yeah, look, and ain't gonna put his business out there, but I'm gonna ask him to cash out me $20.
Oh yeah, he ain't gonna be he not gonna be here for money. Brother gonna be doing all right. He gonna be doing all right for a new graduate. So yeah, he can be straight.
Yeah,
Yep.
man. How
Um,
about your daughter, man? How about your daughter?
yeah. Camille, she starts her senior year, believe it or not, at Amherst.
Wow.
So she's leaving on Tuesday to make her way back to Massachusetts. Um, and
Okay.
Olivia, we dropped her off last week, so she's starting her freshman year at UNC Chapel Hill. So, yep,
Man, how about that?
yep.
Look, look. Can I get little brother a shout out?
Uh,
Uh,
what do you mean?
look, about your new endeavor. Should we pump the brakes on a little bit?
No, we can talk about it. We can talk about it. I
Yeah.
yeah. I guess I'll say that I'm blessed and I'm very fortunate that I'm in a position where I can choose what I want to do. Um, had a pretty nice corporate gig for the last 2.5 years. Making some. I was doing all right. I was, I was I mean, brother was doing all right, but it just wasn't fulfilling. And it's nothing. And this is nothing to say that people who work in corporate America, if you love what you do, then you do that. But it's for me. I just think I need to move on and do something where I can have a impact. And so I will be working with the Wayne County Public Schools. I'll be a behavior specialist, so I'll be able to help kids, help families, help teachers uh, develop principles and guidelines to help students be successful. So looking forward to it.
Well, man, I am with applause. Yeah,
All
I
right, all
am
right.
yeah. Um I am ecstatic, and the reason why I'm ecstatic for a lot of reasons. The main reason is working in the school system. We need more black males uh, in the school system.
Yeah,
I think right now in teaching, I think it's like 2% of teachers are African American males.
yeah,
And see, I already know your background and where we came
yeah,
up from, so I
yeah,
already know how you. So that
yeah.
goes without saying.
Hmm.
So, man, congratulations on your endeavors. And like I say,
Yeah,
it's good to be in the position where you can work because you want to, not because you have to.
yeah,
So that's a whole different level. No wrinkles, right? No wrinkles.
yeah. I mean, yeah. It's interesting. I mean, I talked to some people and they're like, "Man, are you crazy?" I was like, "Man, it can't be about the money. It can't all be about the money, man. You know."
Yeah, yeah. So you can say that. Yeah, you're in the position. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
good to be able to say it can be about the money.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
but I got you, man.
yeah,
So, man, what we got going on, man? Look, we gotta get to it, man. We
yeah.
gotta
Let's
get
get
to
to
it.
it. So
And please, and one second, please, people who are on with this live, please let us know who you are. If you have any questions, any comment, please feel free to jump in.
yeah.
Okay.
So
All
Democratic National Convention. Um,
right.
I actually look forward to this. Like I'll let you speak today. But for me, I started watching conventions um, when the first time that President Obama uh, ran for uh, ran for president, he was nominated. That's when
Mm,
I started like becoming a fan of conventions. And
mm.
disclaimer, I watched the Republican National Convention also.
Yeah,
So
oh
I,
yeah,
I, I watched
definitely. You
both.
got
So over the years, so it's really interesting. Um,
yeah, yeah, definitely.
yeah,
Because the thing is, if we're gonna give here and give a perspective, we gotta watch both sides and try to, give a perspective. But I'll tell you, is I started watching conventions a little earlier when Jesse Jackson ran for president.
yeah,
But
yeah.
look, yeah, but keep hope
Hey,
alive, right?
hey,
I remember
hey,
that speech.
Julia, let me give a quick shout out. I don't mean to do this, but hold on. My boy Alfonso Key.
Oh, I got Fonzo. Okay.
Look, me and Al go back at least 30 years, man. So Al, thanks for tuning in. My man Al, he's just accepted the position at Winston-Salem State as a basketball coach, assistant basketball coach. So uh, look out for him. They're gonna do some good things. But thanks Al for tuning in.
Oh yeah, and I see our big sister there too. Hey Pam, what's up? Hey, and our big sister Pam.
Yeah,
She the one that set the standard for us. Our
yeah,
big sister.
definitely, definitely.
Yeah, and congratulations, Al, man, my man. Yeah, my man. Listen, look, I gotta give my brother props because sometimes me and my brother see, um, me and my brother, we read a whole lot, right? And we both think we know everything, right? And sometimes we don't back down sometimes. So, but to me, I gotta give props because about a month ago we were talking on the podcast, and I said, man, you know what? Looking at what's going on with Biden and the election, I mean, Trump is probably going to go in and be elected, right? And this is before Biden had made the decision to drop out and everything. And Ant said, you know what, man? We can politics a long time. Things could change. Man, how prophetic those words are.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and that could be a good segue into what we got going on. All right.
correct. So we're going to talk about the national convention. Some of the good, the bad, the ugly. But I think
Mm.
it goes without saying, um, it, for people who may not have watched the conventions, I think it's good to be able to compare and contrast. And I have a video that's gonna do that. So we'll go ahead and get started.
You got a wry grin. Let's see here.
Let us commence with a call of the roll of the states.
Delegates, are you ready? Let me hear you.
Iowa, 40 delegates.
You gotta do it.
Georgia, 59 delegates.
Fire, get loud. Another round of shots. DNC, turn out for what? Turn out for what? Hey, turn out for what?
West Virginia, 32 votes. President Donald J. Trump.
Party people, come on. TNC, party people, come on. Roll call, party people, come on. TNC, party people, come on.
Thank you, delegates.
It's time for us to do the right thing, and that is to elect Kamala Harris as the next president of the United States of America.
A tale of two roll calls.
All right.
I mean, sometimes what's understood that definitely does not need to be said.
Correct.
Clearly, and this is no, I mean, this is just reality looking at the both conventions. Um, the convention is appealing to the people who are in their party. So, and
Correct.
that's not a slight, just that's the reality. I mean, I think in I think the convention, the Republican convention, they had Hulk Hogan, ripping off his shirt, you know, and I think they had Amber Rose, you know.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, I mean that's so. I mean, I can't even say it's. I mean, it's comical to watch the comparison, but when you look at both parties, excuse me, and look at the demographics that make up both parties, then the expression in both conventions, it makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, no. I mean, that's the first thing that I noticed. I mean, let's Republican convention, um, the audience probably 95% white.
Yeah, yeah. I
Not
mean, if
reflective of America as whole, but in
yeah,
contrast
well,
to the go ahead.
oh no, no, no. I was actually concurring because if you look at the delegates, the percent of delegates Afro Americans that's counted, I think it's like maybe 3 or 4%. You
Hmm.
know, so clearly, yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
So you hear me?
yeah. And then just uh, I don't particularly care for the way that the media portrays the campaigns, and then I would say the convention. I look at it myself, but there's the vibes. Uh, I think that anybody if who knows nothing about politics,
Mm.
hypothetical, if they were to watch both conventions, look at the audience, the optics, they would concur that the Democratic Party is representative of America as a whole compared to what you saw with that Republican National Convention.
That's a fact. I
Yeah.
mean, if you because if you look at both conventions, especially look at the Democratic convention, you know, they clearly embraced uh, the LGBT community. Excuse me. Uh, they embraced women's issues, abortion, things of that nature. Um, they embraced civil rights. You know, they embraced a coalition of things with their
Mm-hmm.
constituency. And when you look at the platforms and the things of that nature, yeah, clearly, yeah, one party is more reflective and one party is not.
Yeah.
Um, I think the challenge and the disappointment is that it fosters an us versus them kind of thing. People are
Yeah.
so locked in into their sides that it's like they're blinded by partisanship.
Yeah.
And I think therein lies the challenge moving
I
forward.
but I don't think that represents. I think that may represent the fringe elements of maybe both parties, but it's clearly a choice. Look at this dog. It's clearly a choice in this election, and and so look, Kamala Harris, yeah, she has the answer for her for the last 2.5 years, but
Yeah.
it requires a nuanced conversation. Is that
Mm,
I've been to number two before, right?
mm,
And people really have to understand what the responsibilities of a number two is. Okay,
yeah.
uh, the number two has an input on policy, but
But
the number one is the one that's leading this train.
yeah.
You know what I mean? They are driving the agenda. It is their agenda, and you sit back and you support. So for all the people who are now saying that that Kamala Harris has to, is her no, those are President Joe Biden's policies.
Yeah.
He's the top of
Yeah.
the ticket.
And yeah, definitely. Definitely. And was top of the ticket until a month or so ago.
Yeah,
And listen, clearly, and please, people out there in Google world, I think there are only two, as far as the Constitution is concerned, there are only two responsibilities of the vice president. Uh, that is to preside over the Senate
Mm-hmm.
And if there's a tie, cast it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's your job. Now, here's the crazy thing. Originally, in the beginning, when the Constitution was first written, um, the vice president was actually the person who finished, yeah,
Yeah.
was actually the person who finished second in the election,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So all those people on the Supreme Court who think the Supreme Court justices are making these rulings based on what was the original intent of the framers,
Yeah.
you need to pump your brake on that because in the beginning, whoever finished second was the vice president. So
Yeah.
in other words, if we were going by what the framers originally intended when they wrote the Constitution, I think 1787 or so, now that time period,
Yeah.
uh, Donald Trump would be the vice president.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
Yeah, can you
Yeah.
imagine? Just saying. Just saying.
And so, going back to the convention, I think that they had look. It was exciting. I mean, that's really
Yeah,
what the conventions are for. The conventions, at least the way that I view it, conventions
yeah,
are to rally your base,
yes,
um, but also appeal to um, those voters who may be on the fence.
yeah,
That's what conventions are for, at least the way that I view it.
yeah. And I think one thing with the Republican convention, uh, starting at the start of the Republican convention, um, it was the Republicans had momentum and excitement. You know, uh, former President Trump had survived a assassination attempt,
Hmm.
right? Uh, Second, he what else? He got that court. Eileen Cannon gave him a victory down in Florida with the documents case, right? So he went into the convention with all of the momentum. The only issue is, and then on top of that, and then of course Biden was flailing with the his debate performance, and only thing Trump had to do was sit there and stay on message, right? And I listened to his speech, and he was on message for about 15 minutes.
Well,
Yeah,
let me just back up real quick. Okay,
yeah.
you are correct that he had the momentum, right? But and this is a whole another topic. But he
Mm.
did pick JD Vance as
Oh,
his vice president.
that I think that was the fatal flaw. I think that I think he got too confident. If he could do that over again, he would redo it. I think when he went into convention with all the momentum he was thinking, he went against his advisor's advice, right? So the advisors, those are the ones that make the big money, make good decisions because they understand things. But he was thinking he was seeing victory, and picking JD Vance is turning out to be might be a fatal decision,
Yeah,
possibly. I mean, this is still going to be an election, but that's a great point.
yeah,
But moving to the Democratic convention, I think you can tell Kamala Harris her stamp on how her campaign is going to be run. I think one thing I've always heard, and Pam, I always talk to my big sister Pam. How you doing, Miss Stokes? My mother-in-law uh, on the thing. How you doing, Miss Stokes? Hope all's well. Thank you for spoiling my grandson. Now he don't know what no means now. So, so but no, I think, and Pam always brought this up, is that with Michelle Obama, when they go low, we go high. It's always been taking the
yeah,
taking the low road. Look, we're right. We're morally. They say we're morally right on policy. We can pontificate. We can argue correctly, issues, things of that nature. And one side is just whether they're telling the truth or not. They're just throwing punches. And I think the difference that people are seeing, and that's probably why young people are probably more engaged than they normally are,
Hmm.
is that it appears that the uh, under Kamala Harris, because this wasn't Joe Biden style per se, um, is like they're taking the fight to the Republicans, and I think
Correct.
that's a difference than we've seen in past elections.
Correct. And I just think that the whole I say their prescription for the future. Look, we have problems in this country. I mean, don't get
Oh,
me
no
wrong,
doubt.
but I think we have to put it into perspective, proper perspective.
Mm-hmm.
When and I was thinking about this today, kind of thinking about what we were going to talk about today, and so I thought about when President Obama came into office. He came in and he inherited the Iraq War, Afghanistan War, and he also came
The
in
housing crisis, the
with the
housing
housing
crisis.
crisis. Okay,
Yes.
all right. And then you look at President Biden and Kamala Harris. They came in from a mismanaged um, COVID response
Hmm.
and a financial crisis. Okay,
Yes.
so compare where we were in January 2020, is it 2020 or 2021? 2021. I think whenever
2021. Yeah, 2021. I think
2021
so. Yeah.
when um, the inflation rate was up to like 14%, and you look at where it is now.
Yeah.
Um, and the bottom line, it takes time for policies to,
But
it doesn't happen just like
see,
that.
see, see,
It takes
see,
time.
and that's the part where I was trying to my explain to people, especially when Trump came in the first time, when he was like the first time, he inherited a booming, robust economy,
Correct.
right? And he did two or three executive orders, and everybody said, "Oh, this is Trump's great economy."
Correct.
And I had to remind people this is where people get it's either cognitive dissonance
I say it's willful
circumstantial
ignorance.
amnesia. Yeah, willful ignorance. Thank you, thank
Yeah.
you, willful ignorance. Because when he was running for president and they were touting the economy, Trump was saying that the numbers for the Labor Department were fake,
Correct.
and his people was parroting that on media. Oh, they're fake numbers. But time uh, he was elected, did one or two executive orders. Oh, Trump has turned the economy around. So it's like you can't have it both ways. And the same thing, of course, if you look at when Biden started coming off the pandemic inflations and look at it where it is now, there is a
Correct.
marked improvement. So I think what's the issues now? That the border, right? So all the issues that look, you got the economy, and I think the border is also um, an issue or a concern with Americans. But I think in Kamala Harris's speech, she made an excellent point, and you
Right.
can't get around this. And we've been saying it for a while. It's kind of disingenuous when I see my Republican friends or party when they criticize Joe Biden's and Kamala's policy, well, Joe Biden's policy on the border, or call her the border czar, when a conservative Republican authored one of the strongest integration bills in several generations,
Yeah. Sandal
where,
Langford.
yeah, Cyril Langford, thank you, where Republicans got most of their wish list.
Correct.
A bill that was endorsed by the Border Patrol, the
Correct.
same people that say are catching all the heck on the border. And people can't mistake this. This bill would have drastically changed uh, immigration, the issue on the border, point
Correct.
blank. But since Biden would have gotten it would have took a political issue, Trump's main political issue away. Trump used his influence to um, kill the bill. Now you have these border states like Texas and Arizona and all these California. Uh, you have American citizens uh, Democrat and Republicans who are dealing with issues with the border, but you had a remedy that was sit right there in place, and Trump convinced the use his influence to kill the bill because he didn't want it to give Joe Biden a political point.
Correct.
You
And
have to analyze that. You have to speak to
well,
that, man.
but more importantly is that this would have helped America. So instead of
Yeah,
thinking in
thank you.
terms of what benefits America, he thinks of in terms of what benefits me. And I think
Yes,
that's the contrast that I saw from between the Republican convention and the Democratic National Convention is that the Democratic National Convention was about um, look, they recognize that they still have work to do. So let's
yes.
put that out there. We have work to do. It's not perfect, but we're not living in a third world country. I
Yeah.
mean, America is
It,
not. I mean, let's just be honest. This I
look,
I don't know what type of world that especially when you look at Donald Trump's speech, his nomination speech. I'm not sure what world he lives in because I don't recognize the world that he lives in.
the issue, Anthony, is that when he mentions third world countries and he mentions immigrants, he's speaking to those xenophobic impulses that makes up a lot of his base. Like, did you see the meme that was put up by his campaign? It says, "Your neighborhood uh, before Kamala, after Kamala." And oh, I can't hear you.
Oh yeah, I saw it.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, okay, I got you. You went blank for a second. Okay, yeah. So those type of things right there.
So I was looking I was looking for a video today that and I saw it on Morning Joe. I don't normally watch MSNBC, but they did a
Yeah.
really good job of kind of splicing up the speeches and the different approach to governing. So I think it's definitely interesting.
Oh, I can't hear it.
Can't hear. Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on for 1 second. Technical
Okay.
difficulties.
Right. Yeah, I think. Can you hear that, Ant?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't hear it going on my end.
Can you hear? Yeah.
Yeah. I can hear you, but I can't hear it.
So I think we have a little bit of technical difficulties.
That's fine. I mean, clearly, so uh, Trump is clearly speaking to the grievance, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, so you so and it's an approach and it's a strategy. And the thing about it, he doesn't feel he have to change the strategy because what he won with it before, right?
Yeah.
So if you're saying America's turned to a third world country and millions of rapists and murderers are coming across the border
Yeah.
and all those things and they're replacing you and all of these things and speak and those type of things, then and that's what riles your base up. That's what you're going to get. And what's happening is it hasn't swayed his core base support. Now the issue is it going to grow his base? That's the problem. Will it grow his base?
Um, I think they're in trouble. I
Yeah.
think that I think that and we talked about this on multiple occasions.
Yes.
When you contrast I always say you know being that I play basketball, like who's on the bench, like you know what I mean. Your starting five is important. Don't get me wrong, all right,
Yeah.
but who's on the bench? And I looked at the Republican National Convention, and you look at some of their quote unquote rising stars, it just can't compare. Especially when you look at the people who spoke. When you look at the Democratic National Convention, when you look at their speakers, you look at a Gretchen Whitmore, you look at a West I can't think of his name from Maryland, uh,
Westmore
Westmore, uh,
wrote that book, the other Westmore. Yeah.
the other Westmore, great book. You
Great
look
book.
at
Yeah.
a Pete Buttigieg. You look
Yeah.
at AOC. Okay,
Well,
the list
well,
goes on.
here's the difference in with the between the Democrat and Republican Party. Um, Big tent, small tent. But and the reason why and what I say is that look, you had Republicans, former Republicans at the Democratic convention speaking for Democrats.
Yes.
And what's happened is that in the Republican Party, unfortunately, all of your moderate voices, um, all of your voices that may want to compromise, that actually believe in the rule of law, those people, they've been forced out.
Yeah.
Now, listen, put it this way, and I think a lot of people, some people may have missed this point. You have a Republican convention where a former Republican president is not welcome,
No.
right?
No.
And what happens when you look at
And
the
the vice president.
yeah, and the vice president, yes, exactly, great point, and the vice president. So so, and I think what makes the Democrat Party what sometimes make them seem chaotic sometimes, or always having healthy debates. I won't say chaotic, healthy debates, is because whether you're a moderate Republican, excuse me, a moderate Democrat, whether you are far left Democrat like AOC, or whether you're part of those blue dog Democrats on the conservative side, all of those entities have a space at the party versus with the Republican Party, you're either going to buy Trump or you're out. And I think that's the difference right there.
Yeah,
Now,
I agree.
yeah.
I definitely agree.
Now, it's one thing, and it's kind of on topic or maybe off topic that has been vexing me a little bit. Um, uh, and you've seen it, and you may think it's whatever, but I have been having an issue online. I see people questioning uh, Kamala Harris' race,
Yeah.
um, saying that and they were parroting what Mr. Trump said at the Black Convention thing, um, where they're questioning whether she's black or not, and that's always has been an irritant. Because,
Hey,
oh, Mr.
Junior.
How you doing, Uh,
But
Mr. Oh, one second. I'm sorry, Mr. Cottrell. Are immigrants entering U.S. borders to a harmful degree hurting America? Oh, Mr. Kittrell, what's up, man? Look, this is Mr. Charles Kittrell, man. We go all the way back to Sampson Elementary in Kinston, a good brother. So he's asking, are immigrants entering the U.S. borders to a harmful degree hurting America? Um, I Here's why I don't think so. Um, because I live here in Duplin County, right? And what's happened, a lot of those migrants are actually recruited to work on work visas. And they come in and they work on the farms and they work in the fields. Um, we like to have, we don't want no $20 cucumbers, right? Right? So coming in and uh, providing a labor force where jobs Americans won't do because people won't pay, um, I think that actually helps the economy. Uh, and also, people forget this has always been a nation of immigrants, right? Nobody said that, asking like, is it hurting the economy in the late 19th century, early 20th century, when millions was coming in from Europe, right? Um, so I do think that we do need reform, of course, but I don't think it's hurting America per se as the way Trump is pushing it. Because when I'm looking in where I live at, and we have a substantial, you know, Hispanic population, I don't see uh, people getting raped and killed and all this stuff by our Hispanic brothers and sisters. Yeah,
Well, I think it's Mr. Cottrell, Charles Cottrell. I think it's a good question,
yeah,
and so I
yeah. It
will
is very good question.
I answer it like this, um, because we have to. I believe that when we have these conversations, we have to define certain terms, right?
Yeah,
Okay. So I guess the first thing, is it illegal for someone to come to the border and enter the United States? Okay. Is that at illegal? Well, there are different categories. If
yeah,
someone is seeking asylum
yeah,
and they do it the right way, then that's not illegal. Uh, are they hurting America by seeking asylum, trying to build a better life? I don't think so.
yeah,
Um, I think the issue is comes in terms of resources. So I think we can look at the resources that because you have to house them, you have to feed them, you have to provide medical care for them. So I would say from a research standpoint, um, is it taken away from Americans that were otherwise wouldn't get those resources? So I would say, from that standpoint, from a research standpoint, I would say that um, it's straining the system, but I just don't know how you can compare it to, because so and so is coming in from Guatemala, is it hurting someone that lives in San Antonio, Texas? That's
yeah,
the that's the that's the issue.
yeah. And just to add a little context to it, um, a lot of the countries that these people are coming from, like Guatemala and Central America, these are countries that could have developed strong economy and they had their own resources, but American companies were down there, remember the banana republics, Dole, and all of them come down there where the American government destabilized their governments for business interests. So now these countries are now underdeveloped and have crooked regimes, but when they had a chance to have a strong regime, a strong government, and they wanted to use their resources to build their own wealth, the United States undermined those countries.
Yeah,
And now, as a result, this is where we're. And you can look up the history is there.
yeah,
So it's like sometimes it may be karma, but I still say that. To your point, yes, it's a strain on the system. But another thing is that here in North Carolina, I always hear uh, uh, politicians say immigration is a problem, but they don't pass any. But they're farmers, and they have farms here in Duplin County. I'm throwing shade at somebody,
And
and,
Goldsboro.
and the
Yeah.
yeah. They have farms here in Duplin County and Wayne County. These same politicians, and they house, actually sometimes exploit these immigrants or these individuals uh, to work in their fields and things of that nature, that we in turn buy at a reduced price because they don't want to pay Americans $20 an hour with benefits. They'll exploit the cheap labor. So it's like it's one of those things where it's a strain on the system per se, but they're being exploited by the same system that's complaining about them
Yeah.
for financial benefits. So it's one something to think about. Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Chris. Okay. Yeah, and yeah, and look, and yeah, and I'm still, yeah. I guess they're coming across taking the black jobs, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I
Yeah.
look,
But
man.
listen,
We look when we were growing up, we had those bad jobs, right? We were working in Uncle Pharaoh tobacco farm. We were doing that. I
yeah.
for look when I drive around Wayne County, or especially when I drive around the rural areas,
Hmm.
um, or when I look at a lot of those meat processing plants, Butterball,
Yes.
a lot of those. Look, black folks that I see, the majority of the I see are not black who take those jobs, but there
Yes.
are always job openings.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess you have to I don't know, you have to look at it. When I see
Yeah.
some of these farmlands, I see mostly I don't see black folks out there in those farming that land. I don't see that. Um,
Well, let's not mix words, man.
yeah,
When he says uh black jobs, that's an ignorant mindset that believes that Afro Americans are only meant for menial labor because because those are the jobs that our Hispanic brothers and sisters are taking when they come here. So that's clearly what it meant. It was
yeah.
definitely an ignorant slight. But
But
I
people
have to go
believe that though.
back to, huh?
People believe that.
Yeah, they believe it. They believe it, yeah, because because of a narrow, limited view of the world based on
Yeah,
their uh, small lenses. Of course, they believe it. Um, but I have to go back to about because it's an irritant about when they were talking about Kamala Harris race,
oh
how they,
yeah,
yeah, how she go back and forth, how she chooses to be black to patronize or to she's only black when she she wants to vote.
yeah.
Um, and I'll say this, man, I don't know Kamala Harris personally, right? But here's what I do know. I attended an HBCU, right?
Hmm.
That's a very intentional decision, right? Um, and I pledged a Black Divine Nine fraternity, and she pledged a Black Divine Nine sorority, right? So clearly, she had some idea about where uh, her identity was going to be. So, and I hear people, and this is a teachable moment because I've seen people I know, yeah, say some of the most ignorant things in the world, and they say they say they say they say that her father's Jamaican, not black, right? And I'm like, I said, well, you do know that the slave ship made a couple of stops before it got to Virginia. Right. What's up,
No, I no, I just I I don't entertain those conversations, man.
man?
I get it, but it's I think
Yeah,
people, is there a difference between race and ethnicity?
yeah. See, that's the thing. Yeah, I mean,
If you look
well,
at her
race is.
experience in America,
Yeah,
you will say that her experience closely models uh, Black Americans and their experience in America in
Well,
terms of
well,
weight.
let yeah, yeah, you're right. Well, let's use litmus test. All right.
Yeah.
Um, remember in the early '80s when Donald Trump and his father was sued for not renting apartments?
Mm-hmm.
We should have gotten an apartment.
Probably not.
Okay. Um, 1954, and she gets on the bus at Rosa Parks. Uh, is, if is she getting arrested if she tries to sit beside Rosa Parks?
Probably not.
Yeah. So clearly, yeah, race and ethnicity, and I think that's where the ignorance come in that Jamaicans not black. That means Harry Belafonte is not black. That means Sidney Poitier, because they're
Yeah.
not born in America. They're born in the islands. That means Malcolm X. It's not.
But I guess the question is, who are the people
Yeah,
who are having these conversations?
yeah. There you go.
Who are they?
Yeah, yeah,
Who are they?
yeah. That makes perfect sense. But I had to speak on it.
Yeah.
Um, Another thing that's that she has to that's been a critique on her is, and this is another thing. Oh, this has really got me. When they said that when she was in San Francisco, or when she was a district attorney general, she locked up black men, right?
I think she locked up criminals.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Look, the first thing I ask is, were they guilty,
Yeah.
right? Um, and the it's almost as if they said, well, the criminal justice system was racist. Yeah, we've been knowing that since we've gotten here in this country, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to African Americans, there are different outcomes. But I remember what that thing Dad used to say all the time: choices and consequences.
Choice and
Consequences.
consequences.
Yeah, he said, you made your choice, but you don't get to choose the consequence.
Correct.
Well,
Yeah. It's
um,
a their argument is. I mean, like I say, there are a lot of people that make their argument, but once you test their argument, it falls apart pretty quickly.
yeah. Well, I think it's asinine, um, because even when you're talking about the 1994 crime bill, where a lot of African Americans, of course, were incarcerated because of that, and how then it impacted people in where she was from as well. And I think when I hear people in their 30s or in their 20s talking about how she incarcerated with the racist crime bill, they clearly don't have perspective. Because here's the thing: we were alive when crack hit the system,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
And of course, our lives were impacted directly with crack because of our father, rest in peace,
Hmm.
pops. And I'm kind of conflicted, but maybe not, because we lived in Trent Court, right? We knew the drug dealers, right? They were some of those guys were our good friends, right? Some of our friends to this day. Some of them paid their debt to society, and they are doing well, but they were guilty. Um, they did sell drugs.
Yeah.
Um, it did cause damage to the community. It did hurt lives. It did create a generation of babies that were born underdeveloped and cognitively delayed, right? Um, it during that time, it was the black community that was crying out to do something about the violence, the gangs, the drive-by shootings. It was the black community that cried out. And so I think people, and like I said, yes, the crime bill was problematic as far as application, but let's not look at this through rose-colored glasses to think the people that were uh, the majority of them that was, because some, of course, always innocent, but that was caught up in it were in it because of the deeds they were doing. They were just not some innocent person, you know. Like I said, there's nothing nonviolent about a dealer don't get his money. Yeah,
No, you're right, man. And
yeah,
look, you said it.
yeah,
The crime bill is kind of like a buzzword. Um,
yeah,
but once you go beneath that surface level of just talking
yeah.
about the crime bill, again, a lot of those arguments fall apart because people don't know that the Congressional Black Caucus is behind the crime bill.
Yes, exactly. And
There's,
thank you. The majority of the Congressional Black Caucus.
yeah,
And if you, because we went through it, and if you look at some of those members of the CBC that voted for the crime bill, and you look at the districts they were from,
correct.
they were from the Watts and these areas where people were getting killed every day. It was
Yeah,
out of control,
yeah,
right? And so people just kind of have amnesia of what was going on, or what made the crime bill come into effect. And also another thing people forget is that there's a difference between the original crime bill of 1994 and what happened to the crime bill in 1996 when the Republicans took over under Newt Gingrich
yeah,
with those enforcements. And that's a nuance that people kind of forget. But I say all that to say is that she was a prosecutor, right? You prosecute. And so now, some 20 years later, you've been held accountable for doing your job. Look, truth be told, if I was a prosecutor, I would have prosecuted some of them guys too,
yeah,
because you see firsthand the community what's going on.
correct.
But the thing is the crime bill or her being a prosecutor or her prosecuting people being an attorney general, uh, is that a deal breaker as far in the grand scheme of your voting? It's what her profession was then, with all the other issues that are prevalent and going on. Is that your deal breaker? And I guess that's the question.
Yeah, I mean, again, man, I what I do is I kind of look at
Oh, oh,
where these comments are coming from.
yeah.
Who's making the comments? What's their background? What's their experience? Like I say, I don't argue with people on the internet no more. I stopped there a long time.
Oh,
But
yeah,
I
yeah, man.
but yeah, but I do read a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's just
I
just it's
think,
ignorance.
yeah. Yeah, look, what did Mark Twain said? Never argue with a fool. They'll
Yeah.
drag you down to your level and beat you to death with experience. But Pam said some. D.L. Hughley addressed that. That's right, he did.
Yeah.
D.L. Hughley actually said that he apologized because he made comments about her prosecuting black men and things. And he went in at her, but he said once he did his research and start reading
Hmm.
and look at things in context, then he came and apologized because once you read, but then some people in, what did Martha King say? There's nothing more dangerous in this world than sincere ignorance or conscious stupidity.
Hmm.
You have some people who will read it and see that their point of view has been invalidated, but they will stick with the wrong point. And that's where the intellectual dishonesty comes in.
Yeah.
And that's what some of these circular arguments come in as well, because they're not being intellectually honest enough to pull back on some of the views that they had that may have been wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Well, look, this is what I my I think that coming out of the Democratic National Convention that Republicans have dug themselves in a hole that I'm not sure they're going to be able to get out for a while because they let Donald Trump hijack their party,
Yeah,
and along with them he let them he appealed, and we say this all the time, he appealed to the worst of the worst within the fringes of, and you know what, you can no longer even say the fringes. uh,
Yeah. Oh,
the
yeah.
it's mainstream now in terms of the extreme views of the Republican Party. Um, when you look at the polling, when you look at those down ballot races,
Mhm.
uh, I've been paying particularly close attention to. Well, we from North Carolina. I've been playing. Uh, North Carolina is in play. I look. I don't trust the polls. I'm going to say that right now.
Okay.
Um, what I look at is particularly is registration data,
Yes.
and so I've been looking at registration post uh, Joe Biden announcing that he's not running for reelection. So if you look at the registration data and then you look at the demographics of the registration data, and then you look at those polls, particularly in I say North Carolina because North Carolina is very important because when you look at
Mhm.
who's at the top of the ticket in the governor's race.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, one last thing.
Yeah.
Also, is there are certain states, I think Arizona, I think Florida, and there are a host of other states that have a ballot initiative that talks about abortion.
Abortion. There you go. There you go.
So all those when you look at and and this is the let me just say something about abortion real quick, okay? Because for some reason when people have the conversation about abortions, they always want to go to the extreme,
Mhm.
okay? Post-birth abortions. What's that called? That's murder, right?
That's
Like
murder.
who's
Yeah.
having
That's
post-birth? I mean, it's just ridiculous.
yeah. Yeah.
But
But people, those people in those echo chambers. Yeah.
yeah,
That's yeah.
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 So when you look at those down ballot races, uh, North Carolina. I would not be surprised, and I predict it. I'm saying it today, Friday, August 23rd, 7:57, that Kamala Harris is going to win North Carolina.
Yeah. And you know why? You know why? Uh, because if, like you said, look, Mark Robinson.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, people. I don't. And this is local. And then you
Yeah. This
look
is
at
local.
and also look at the person running for the state board of education.
Yeah.
Where North Carolina is as a population, as far as politics, is more center than where Mark Robinson is on the fringe. And so that's the effect of Trump hijacking the party and putting these
Yeah.
crazy people up here that probably have no chance to win. Another thing too, and I think Pam made a good question. What did Lindsey Graham say? He said the truth, and but that's what the Johnson, I think his name, the Speaker of the House, said a month ago. He said in a press conference what normally is said behind closed doors to the caucus.
Yeah.
Whenever the leader of when the Speaker of the House, and the Speaker of the House is third in line to the presidency,
Mm-hmm.
right? If someone after the president versus Speaker of the House, the most powerful person, he's not speaking internally to the caucus. He in a press conference.
Mm-hmm.
He says, please stop with the racist and misogynistic attacks against Kamala Harris
Mm-hmm.
and focus on policy. Whenever your leader of your party has to do that out front versus behind, it's the same
Mm-hmm.
thing. You have Lindsey Graham. Thanks for bringing that up, Pam, big sis. You have Lindsey Graham who said if Donald Trump focuses on the policy, he has a chance. If he focuses on the crazy, all these diatribes and stuff, he will lose. So
Well,
when you
I
have we have prominent people saying that, that lets them know what they're seeing. Their internal polling data, what you talk, the internal polling data is what they're seeing right now.
well, what's his policy?
Yeah.
Because people are saying right now that Kamala Harris that all I've been hearing all week is that oh she didn't talk about policy, she didn't talk about policy, she didn't talk about policy. What's the Republican what's their policy? What's their policy? I mean, if you want
Well,
to read
first
it,
of all,
you can go to the DNC, but even the, Donald Trump.
you about you about
Have
to
you
say
ever
it.
listened to have you ever uh so some people on Twitter, they put out a transcript of Donald Trump speeches. Have you ever seen a transcript?
You talk
Bruh.
when he goes off the teleprompter.
Oh man, let me stop, man. Let me stop. Let
Yeah,
me
I know.
stop.
We gotta
Let me
stop.
stop.
We gotta stop,
I can go
man.
on a tangent talking about this twice impeached, convicted felon.
Yeah,
Uh,
but at the end of the day, um, at the end of the day, this is where we are politically,
yeah.
and here's my concern. Really, my concern is that, well, you made a good point. Is that when if he loses, because like I said, this is still a close race, and I don't, it can go either way. But if he loses, will he invoke and call out those violent extremists within his ranks, supporters, to wreak havoc? That's a concern as well.
Well, I think the difference between um, he doesn't have the might of the federal government. So it is a difference when he was the president, and so he
True,
had a
great point.
you know what I mean. He's just a normal citizen. He doesn't have the might of the federal government behind him. You know, he doesn't have the ability to say, you know what, National Guard don't go in. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
He doesn't have that. So
he can't fiddle while Rome burns, as
yeah,
Nero did.
exactly, exactly. Uh, but uh, we'll see what happens. I'll say
Yeah,
regardless of who you we can and I consider this my closing thoughts.
yeah,
Uh, I think regardless of who you of who your candidate of choice is, I just say vote.
yeah, yeah. Vote. Yeah.
Exercise your right to vote. Yeah.
Look, man, on election day, if I'm driving to the poll and I see uh, a Trump supporter and a Biden or a Harris supporter need a ride to the poll, guess what? I'm taking both of them. All right?
I'm not.
Yeah, I'm taking. Yes, I'm
I ain't let I
I-
ain't let nobody. Look, it's
yeah,
some
they
danger.
didn't pick up nobody.
I ain't picking
Yeah,
up
look,
nobody.
let's put that in context right quick. See, I,
I
look.
ain't picking up nobody.
Now the difference is, I don't mind giving somebody a ride in my little Honda Accord. Look,
Yeah.
you got that X7?
No, I don't, nah, I ain't got all that.
Yeah, big X7. So,
Yeah.
but here's the yeah. Look. I tell anybody, man. I said, and I said again. I said 1,000 times. I don't vote Democrat. I don't vote Republican. I vote my interest. Right? And voting your interest means being informed.
Yep.
And my interests may look different on the local level, the state level, and the federal government level, right? And I said 1,000 again. I live here in this town here. Is Republicans on my town board right now? The Republicans, and I go to these town hall meetings every month. I'll vote for every last one of them, right? Now, would I want them uh, choosing my Supreme Court justice, right, or choosing federal judges? Probably not.
Yeah.
But that's what the nuance calls. You know, I'll vote for them. Yeah, so that's where it goes. So yeah, vote your interest, and vote your interest just means informed, being informed.
Definitely.
But
Definitely.
yeah, man. But, yeah. All right.
All right.
All right. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for tuning in.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks for the comments. I see 8 up here, but I didn't see that many. Yeah, but thanks everybody for tuning in. Appreciate your comments and everything.
Yep. All right. What you got planned for this weekend, man?
Man, oh good gracious. I got NACP business
Okay.
Getting ready for the first day of school, which is Monday. Getting ready for that.
Okay.
That's about it, man. Might
right.
wash the cars.
Okay.
You know, about to go out for dinner with Kenya. I'm glad she can drive now.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. All right.
But all right,
All right.
that's
Take
about
care,
it,
man.
man. All right, peace,
All
man.
right.
All right.